Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Chess Openings for Beginners. As you all know, the topic is King's Gambit, King's Gambit accepted, that is, and we are having this position which we started to analyze last time. So if you remember, we analyzed the move g5, and now let's see if black doesn't go for such an aggressive option immediately, but instead goes for a more modest d6. This is the so-called Fischer variation. If Fischer lent his name to this variation, then it must be good, and it really is. But let's see what can we do about it. So first move that you should play is d4, and that attacks the pawn on f4. If black allows that to happen, then white could be pretty happy. So that's why black usually plays g5 to give support to that pawn. If he tries to be smart and starts with knight f6, attacking the e4 pawn, then he might become too smart for his own good, because after white defends the e4 spot, there is a problem with the f4 pawn, because now g5 runs into knight g5, because the communication between the queen and the pawn has been broken. Alright, so let's go back. So this is why black plays g5, and now there is really only one move that makes sense in this position, and that is to attack the g5 spot right away. So let's see how black can react to this. First, what if he takes? What if he takes the pawn? What will happen? Well, if he does that, then the f4 pawn is free for the taking, so we just capture. And as you can see, black has three terrible pawns, while white has two nice open files and easy development prospects. The idea is just to tuck your king away to the queen side, and then to use the open files and take advantage of black's weaknesses. Alright, so that was not good. How about protecting the pawn? What if black plays h6? Well, that's not good either, because there are some problems on the h file. Alright, let's check another alternative. For example, not that one. That's the move that he should play. Let's check bishop e7. So black gives support to the g5 spot. But what happens is his bishop gets to an awkward spot. So he's constantly under pressure. And after, let's say, bishop c4, there is a problem with this knight, because if it develops to any normal square, then again it would cut black's queen from defending the bishop. So black has some trouble here. That's why in this position he should advance. He should advance. And now our knight is threatened. If you remember well, I recommended in a similar position to sacrifice your knight. But there are some differences. There are some differences between this position and the previous one, where I did recommend this sacrifice, because here black has already opened up his bishop and white wasted the move with h4. So I don't recommend you to do this. Don't do this. In this position, it's not good. Instead, you have two options. You can go forward with some crazy play, or you can go backwards. And that's the move that I recommend, because what is happening now? Yeah, we retreated our only piece, but we are threatening to capture this pawn, and with these knight central pawns and the open f file, there are some good prospects for the future. So that's why black should make sure to keep this pawn at least for as long as he can. But let's see how can he react to this. For example, he can do it like this with protecting with the queen, and that is actually his best option. But what we are going to do, we are going to just develop, for example, knight c3, and let's say he plays bishop knight e7. We keep attacking the f4 pawn, and now after bishop h6, if you look carefully, you can see that this bishop is not defended, which lets white play this crazy move, queen d2. And now we are threatening to capture the pawn, and some kind of action like this will not bring anything to black. This is very good for white. The material would be equal at the end of variation, but white structure would be much better. Alright, so that's why he should not push, but he can, for example, counterattack us here. So if we take, he can take here. And because of that, white needs to do some very aggressive things that start with knight b5, and now chaos on the board starts. So if this happens in your game, you have to be ready to play a crazy game. But I think on a beginner level here, just whoever understands the position better, or whoever is a stronger opponent will win. Alright, so let's go back to position after knight g1. So that was if he defends with the queen. What if he doesn't defend the pawn? What if he counterattacks? So he lets us take here, but he wants to take here. Well, we just oblige. We oblige and we develop. With each move, we develop. And let's say he wants to protect this knight. Now, this knight is very strong, so we should give our very good bishop for it because it's his best piece and we don't want him to have good pieces. So let's say we just continue development. Now he's attacking twice here, so we need to give some support because we only defend it once. So you don't do it with your bishop, you don't want to waste time. You develop another piece, knight g2. And let's say he supports his pawns with f5. This would be excellent for white. Even though he has a protected passed pawn and this strong pawn here, he is blocked. He is blocked on the dark squares, and we can simply go queen d2, keep the blockade, and continue with castle and queen side with a beautiful game. There are ideas like this and so on. Alright, so these are the two ways to react to knight g1, and there is one more way, and that is to defend the f4 pawn with the bishop. In this case, we just continue our development. We develop a knight, and now let's say he plays c6. It makes sense to play this move to control this square and also to wait for white to play his next move, because as you can see, our pieces are a little bit restricted by these two guys. So black wants to see how are we going to react. But we have a good reaction to this. Knight g2, putting more pressure on this pawn and threatening to capture it. So he has to protect. So he protects with his queen. And now this move is very important. g3. What's the point of this move? With this move, we want to break this pawn duo and make it disappear by exchanges, or if black pushes forward, then we try to play ahead of it, like we let him have this nice pawn duo, but it is blocked. It is blocked by this pawn, and also king can be a good blockader of the second pawn, and we will try to play with our pieces behind those pawns, yeah? So in the top half of the board. All right, so what if he doesn't push? What if he takes let's check. We take back, and let's say, so there is some tension here, so black needs to solve it. Let's say he captures, we recapture, and he goes on the offensive. So now our knight is attacked, and it looks scary because if we move this knight anywhere, then this black queen will just continue harassing us. But instead of moving the knight, we support it with the other knight and attack his queen. And now he should retreat. If he doesn't retreat, we can make him retreat. For example, if he goes queen f3, don't worry about this rook because it's defended, and don't worry about this knight because it's also defended, and don't worry about this pawn because it's also defended. So all you need to do is push this pawn to open up space for the rook to attack this queen, and then she will have to retreat. Alright, so what if he retreats immediately? Let's say he goes queen h6. Then if you see below my face, going for the end game, we go queen d2, and if black exchanges, this is an excellent endgame for white. Why is it an excellent endgame? Because this pawn, even though it's a passed pawn, it is soundly blocked, and also it is a little bit far away from its own soldiers. So and also it limits the scope of this bishop. So white has great prospect. It has some nice squares, it has a nice file, and also this is a good square, and then it has excellent pawns that control these squares. So this is a very good position for white. Alright, so I think this is all you need to know to start playing bishop, the king's Fischer's variation of king's gambit, which starts with the move at 3d6. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment below if you have any questions about variation or any suggestions for the future videos, and keep studying chess and have fun. See you again. Bye.